Today's presenter is Rose Hall. She's our Chamber's administrative assistant and our very own in-house spreadsheet warrior. Rose is currently serving as the admin here, and she also has served as the events coordinator for the Chamber. She has a degree in IT and is a certified Microsoft Office specialist. Rose has worked in IT, human resources, and accounting across various industries, and she has a passion for reading and strives to always work towards learning something new. Over the years, she's read thousands of books and collects her favorites to add to her personal library of over 900 titles. I have seen her library in her house. It is amazing. And she also lives in Green Valley with her husband, Mike, and 3 children for the past 21 years. Her son, Mason, is enlisted in the Army and is currently serving in Washington. Her daughter, Samantha, is a senior at Park University and is studying social psychology. And her youngest is Scott, who is a junior at Green Valley High School. So without further ado, Rose, I'm going to let you take it from here.
Thanks, Becca. So as Becca said, I am the administrative assistant currently for the Chamber. This Excel class, this is one of my biggest passions, is teaching to understand. This is number 1 of a 3-part series, and it's designed to kind of take the mystery or confusion, frustration for some of us out of using spreadsheets. So basically, we're offering this series to help you better understand how to use Excel to collect your data, analyze your business, make smarter, more informed decisions. Because really, when you know your numbers, you can grow your business with confidence. So this first session, it's basically Excel without the headache. So I'm going to walk you through the interface. I'm going to show you how to create and format a basic spreadsheet. I'm going to explain things like rows, columns, cells, all of the things that you've been pretending to understand. Now you actually will. A lot of the tutorials that you will find out on the web they're labeled basic, they're labeled beginner, and they have about 30 seconds of that beginner stuff. And then it jumps straight into formulas and charts and all kinds of not really higher, but higher-ish level things that can be kind of scary. So we're just going to break it all down and bring it way back to basics. So let me just share my screen here. This first part, we'll just follow along with some slides. And then after a few slides, we're going to jump into an actual spreadsheet that everybody should see in the chat section. And we're going to start looking at data. We're going to start manipulating data and figuring out how to make it what we need it to be. All right, so when we think of Excel, some of us might picture poor Milton with his red stapler and his TPS reports in the basement. Some people might picture a young Russell Crowe from A Beautiful Mind. That's actually my favorite, by the way. But today, by the time we are all done, we are all going to feel like Spider-Man with all of these new powers of Excel we have. So jumping right in. I'll be working kind of in the desktop version of Excel, but everything that we're going to look at today is going to look pretty much the same with the web-based version. If you have questions or you need specific tips or tricks for the web-based version, just let us know, and I'm happy to give that. So when you first open Excel, this is this general screen that you're going to see. Over on the left, you're going to see icons for Home, New, and Open. Across the top, you'll see the option for a blank workbook, or going along to the right, you'll see options for templates. Most of what we're going to be doing is either with a blank workbook or, again, with the spreadsheet that I had Becca put in the comments. Sometimes templates are a great option for if you just need something quick and you don't want to spend a whole lot of time formatting or personalizing things. In the middle of your screen, you're going to see all of your recent documents. This is an easy way to find whatever you were working on last without having to spend a lot of time looking for it. And then down at the bottom of the screen, you're going to see the icons or options for account and options. So let's explore the options menu to see how we can kind of customize Excel to make it a little bit easier to use. So when you click on options and you're looking at the Excel options, it's important to remember that sometimes you don't really know what you need until you've been using Excel for a little bit. Um, it's helpful to keep your spreadsheets basic and informative, but also easy to read. So for today, we're really just going to be looking at this general tab and making sure the interface is as friendly as possible for you to read it and kind of comprehend. Also, try to remember that this is more about just knowing that these options are here. If you're having an issue, just know that there is likely a setting for it that you can change or update. So a couple options that I like to make sure are selected or deselected. On the General tab, enable live preview. This live preview option is going to allow you to hover over different formatting options to see what things look like without actually having to click on it and totally change the way your data looks. If you don't like the live preview, if you don't like it when you hover and it changes everything, then you can come in and uncheck and turn this off at any time. So the next option is collapsing the ribbon automatically. I personally like this option to be unchecked. I like my ribbon to be there all the time so I can see at a glance the options that are available to me without a whole lot of additional mouse clicks. Some people may prefer the extra room on their screen and only like it to pop out when you hover over it. If that sounds like you, you'll want to check this box. We'll talk more about live preview when we start formatting our spreadsheet, and you'll see it actually in action. The next thing we're going to talk about is screen tips. Screen tips are one of the most helpful tools in Excel. It allows you to hover over an option, and Excel is going to pop up a little box. It's going to tell you what that option does and when you should be using it. All right, this next section is going to be a favorite for some of you. If you are like me and you need to turn the radio down so that you can see better when you're driving, or if you get out your flashlight on your phone to read the menus in a restaurant, you're going to like this one. You can decide what font and how big that font is in advance for every single spreadsheet you create. If you like your font to be bigger so it's easier to read, then you'll just change this font size right here. Every single spreadsheet you create will make it bigger so you can see it. Now, you don't have to do this. There are some other options to kind of zoom in and zoom out. So this isn't a must, but it is an option that's out there. So when we're looking at this screen, there are a couple other options that you can look at, depending on how you use Excel. These two little windows that have popped up over here are for customizing the ribbon and customizing your quick access toolbar. Don't worry, I'm going to show you what those are in just a minute. These are the words that you will click on to bring those two boxes up. All right, so what is the difference between a workbook and a worksheet? So a worksheet is one spreadsheet. Worksheet and spreadsheet are used interchangeably. The names are synonymous. A workbook can hold many worksheets or spreadsheets. If you think of a workbook as a spiral notebook, your spiral notebook or workbook can hold lots of sheets or worksheets. All right, so we're going to talk about the different parts of a spreadsheet. And as you'll see, we use little smiley faces on each of the different parts that, that we're going to talk about. And I use smiley faces because Excel can be a happy, fun thing. It's not super scary. So we'll kind of go down the list in order. Up at the top is the file name. Currently, it says Book 1. That's just the default name that Excel gives any new workbook that you open. If you change the name of that, it'll change the name that's up there in the file name spot. Next, we've got the quick access menu. The quick access menu is one of those additional options that we looked at in our options menu a minute ago that you can change depending on what you use the most. By default, it should have the little save icon, and then it should have the back arrow and the go forward arrow. If you find that you're using other things more, like maybe you want to put the print button up there, you can also do that. Next is your menu tabs. Menu tabs are the file, home, insert, draw, page layout, formulas, data, review, view, so on and so forth. When you click on each one of those, it's going to bring up a whole new set of options to use. The one good thing about Excel is that it's very graphical. It's great pictures, great menu options. The ribbon. This whole section right here is your ribbon. Within your ribbon, you have different sections separated by these little pipes here. So we have a font section. That's where you're going to change the size of your font or what the letters look like. You can also bold things, underline things, change the color of your text. This next one is your alignment. That's where you'll center things or you'll change like whether your text is at the top of a cell or at the bottom of a cell or in the middle. This number 1 here, that is where you will change the format of your number. We'll play with that one here in just a little bit. Styles, that's a really fun one to play with. We're not going to do anything with styles today. That'll be in our next session, but just know that it is there. For the most part, we're going to be concentrating on these first 3 sections: font, alignment. Columns are letters, A, B, C, D, E, F, G, so on and so forth. A column header is the actual letter. Your rows are across, or the numbers 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, so on and so forth. The row header is the actual number itself. Your sheet tab is going to be down here at the bottom. Excel will sometimes make it to where it'll open with just 1 sheet, or sometimes it'll open with 3 sheets. Each sheet can be a different spreadsheet. You can also rename the names of those sheets so that your information is more descriptive. And then a cell. A cell is each individual little box. So 1 box is 1 cell. And then last but not least, the dreaded formula bar. It's not as scary as it looks, I promise. It's not just for formulas, it's also for just entering data in general. Okay, so now we're going to make some amazing stuff. If everyone could pull up the Excel spreadsheet that was in the chat menu. I'll give everybody just a minute to open it.
Rose, while they're opening theirs, we did have a question, which is, can this also, like, how does this work for Google Sheets? I know that they're different, but they're somewhat similar. So they're just asking if they could be, this information is similar to the sheet.
So all of the information that we're talking about today is going to be pretty much the same in Google Sheets. The cool thing about Google Sheets is that it's modeled after Excel. You're going to find things in just about the same spot, and the little icons are going to look just about the same for Google Sheets too. If somebody wants specific tutorials on how to do something in Google Sheets, then I can definitely help walk them through that too.
Thank you.
Okay, is everybody ready? So for this spreadsheet, we've got some data here about our pretend company, Rose's Cleaning Service. So just to save a little bit of time, I went ahead and I entered some data for you. Now that we have all of this data in here, we're going to format it so that it's a little nicer looking and it's a little bit easier to read. Each session, we're going to take this exact same spreadsheet and we're going to keep building on it until we've made something really, really amazing. So let's start with readability. When I look at this spreadsheet, the first thing that I see is that I can't tell what is in these cells because they're too skinny. If I click in cell A1, which is basically the identifier of the coordinate of that cell, this is B1, B2, B3. Go back to A1, and I look up here in our formula bar, I can see that it's supposed to say client type and location. That's awesome. But I want to be able to read client type and location in that first cell. So what we're going to do is we're going to go right in between A and B until you get this double-sided arrow. Once you have the double-sided arrow, you're going to double click it. And it's automatically going to change the width of that cell so that you can read all of its contents. Now let's say I want to do that to every single cell, because as you notice, some of these are the same. You can't read all of the information in it. So what we're going to do is we're going to select every cell at one time. I like to call this cell up here in the upper left-hand corner the teenager cell. I call it the teenager cell because it just kind of hangs out up here all by itself. It doesn't really talk to anybody. It doesn't really do much, but just kind of hang out and watch. So we're going to click on that cell up there and we're going to select the entire spreadsheet. And then we're going to come over here and we're going to do it again. We're going to get our double-sided arrow. It does not matter which line you pick. You can go in between any one of these. Get your double-sided arrow and we're going to double click again. And as you see, we just made every single cell big enough to fit your contents. So this already looks much, much better. But I'm noticing there's not a lot of differentiation between the header of that column or the title of that column and the information that's in the column itself. So I want to make that text stand out a little bit. So I want to make those bold. But I want to do it all at the same time. So we're going to go over here to the row header, or where it says number 1, and we're going to click on number 1. That's going to select your entire row all the way over. Once we've selected that entire row, we're going to come up here and we're going to look for the bold or the B. If you're not sure which one it is, this is where we can do that hover for the screen tip. We can see it's the bold button, and the description is it's going to make our text bold. So everybody go ahead and click the B for bold. So that looks even better. Let's go ahead and let's click on our teenager cell up here. And let's auto fit again, just to give those a little bit more room to see. So you can see it changed just a little bit, not a lot, but definitely enough to make a difference. So now I think I want this header, I want that to be in the center. I don't want it to be on the left-hand side of the cell. I want it to be in the middle. So we're going to go over here to the alignment section, and we're going to find Align Center. Again, using that screen tip, we can see that it says center, and it centers your content. So we're going to click on that, and you can see it just popped it over here in the center. So I'll put it back to the left. Now it's left aligned, center. Now it's center aligned. Much better. So looking at the information that's in our spreadsheet, we can see this right here is income. Well, honestly, this doesn't look like dollars and cents to me. So let's make this look like money. So I'm going to click on this cell right here. We'll just do one for now. We're going to come over here to our number section where we can format our numbers, and we're going to click on the dollar sign. And we just made that $25,544. Looks great. Now I want to make everything that way. So let's come up here and click on the column header or the C, and it's going to select everything. Now we're going to come over here and we're going to hit our dollar sign again. And we just made all of those dollars and cents. So that looks great, but I don't need the zeros because I don't have any cents on there. So let's select all of that. And then over here in the number section, you've got two options with a bunch of zeros. One of them, you can increase your decimal places, and one of them, you can decrease your decimal places. So we want to decrease those decimal places. So we're going to click that once and twice. So as you can see, now we just have whole numbers, just dollars. Now, if you look at column E, that is also income. So I want to make column E dollars too. Column F is income, so I want to make both of those dollars. So we're going to select both of these columns at the same time and do it all at once. So you can click on column E, hold your mouse button and drag it over to column F to select both of them. Now they're both selected. Once they're both selected, we can hit on our dollars. And then we're going to decrease our decimal spots. And we just have whole numbers. So now this looks really, really good. I'm really, really liking the way this looks. But just in case later on I want to add more information down here, I want to put a border around this so it really stands out as its own set of information. So what we're going to do is we're going to click in cell A1, drag down and highlight all the way over to the end. Once we have all of that highlighted, we're going to come over here to where it says font into our formatting area. And this little box right here is our borders. So if you click that drop down box, it gives you all different options on how you can make the borders. I want to put all borders. So select all borders. And that makes it so that every single cell has a border around it. Now there's lots of different ways that you can do borders, lots of different styles, colors, the thickness of the line. We can even make some lines thicker than others. We'll get into more of that additional formatting next session, but for now, you know how to do a border. Does anyone have any questions so far?
None in the chat yet.
Okay, perfect. So let's start adding some more data just so that it fits our needs a little bit better. You can see here in column D, we have average per client. So what I want to know is I want to know how much income per client I have. If you think of Excel as a big calculator, and we wanted to do a math problem on a calculator, we would take this amount right here divided by this number right here to get our answer, right? So what we're going to do is we're going to tell Excel that's what we're going to do. So you're going to click in this one cell here. That's where we want the information. And you're going to push the equal sign. If you notice, once you push that equal sign, Excel knows that you're about to tell it to do a math problem for it. Everything up here grays out, and it won't let you do any of that right now because it's waiting for your instructions on that math problem. So we want to tell it cell C2 divided by, or the little slash, cell B2, enter. And it just did our math for us. We can do it again in this next cell. We're going to do equal sign, click in C3, divided by B3, enter. And again, it did our math for us. Now, Excel is really, really smart. It's probably smarter than most of us. So smart that you can tell it to repeat a pattern. It's always going to be looking for patterns in everything that you do, just in case you want to tell it to repeat that pattern. So let's tell it to repeat what we've been doing. We're going to click in the cell D3 that we just did. If you notice in the very bottom corner of that cell, there's a little square. We're going to put our cursor over that square until the cursor changes. See how it changed to that little plus sign? See that? Once you get that plus sign, you're going to click, hold, and drag down 1, drag down 2, and then let it go. And it just did the math for you in those other cells. So, important tip. If you click in a cell that has a formula in it, and then you click in another cell next to it, sometimes Excel is going to think that you are wanting to add cells to that calculation. And then you're going to break the formula, it's going to look crazy, and you're going to be like, oh my gosh, what did I do? This is horrible. So just a quick little tip. If you ever click in a cell that has a formula in it, and you'll know it has a formula because you'll see it right here, instead of clicking away from it, just hit enter. Enter through it. That way you don't accidentally add additional cells to that formula. If you ever get stuck in something, I'll give you an example. So if you click in the cell and then you think you're going to do something, oh shoot, I forgot what I was going to do, and you try to click away, well, now it's making a liar of me. You can also hit escape and it'll get you out of it. Does everybody see how that works? All right, so we have our total income for all of these different areas, but we want to know what the total income is so far for 2025. When you have all of these highlighted, you can look down here at your status area and it'll give you information about what you've selected. We can see the average, we can see how many, and we can see the sum. If you just need to see the quick sum, this works great. But let's say we want to actually add a total there so that somebody can see that later. So let's click in B6 and let's just type total and then hit enter. Click in C6 And then up here in this section that I said we weren't going to go into, there's the auto sum. If you hover over it, auto sum automatically adds everything up that's in the cells above it. So click auto sum. Excel is going to show you what it's adding. If you're happy with that, hit enter. And it does all your math for you. If we want to check Excel's math, we can click and highlight, check down in our status bar, and yep, that's absolutely right. Anybody have any questions?
We're doing good.
Okay, perfect. I like to hear that. Okay, so now we're going to look at the page layout so that in case we want to print this, we can print it really nice for a report for somebody. Down at the bottom where you see the tab, it says Sheet 1. We're going to rename this. Double click on it, and it should highlight, and then just type right over the top of it. We're going to name it Data, and then hit enter. Now you can see our sheet is named Data. If you click on the Page Layout menu tab, you get all kinds of options as far as what the page is going to look like. First thing we want to do is we want to make it so that it's landscape. By default, Excel is going to be portrait or up and down. So let's change it to landscape. It's not going to look any different right away, but you'll notice a difference when we go to print. Back to the Home tab. Let's go ahead and look at the print window. That's the easiest way to see some of these other options. So go down and click Print. Now your print screen is going to look a little bit different depending on what kind of printers you have installed, but the ones that we want to look at are going to be down here. You click Page Setup. We want to make it 1 page wide. By default, it should be set about like this. It should look like that by default. So we're going to do fit to 1 page wide. We're going to center it horizontally on our page. And then I want to put a footer on it. There's lots of pre-made options here. So I want it to say data because that's the name of our sheet. And then we're going to go to the sheet option and I want it to print grid lines. And then we're going to click OK. So when I told it to print grid lines, you'll notice it put an extra line, the extra lines down here at the bottom, because when we made our border did not include this total section that we made. So all there is left is just to hit print. We're not going to print because I'm not attached to a printer, but you would hit print. So pretend we printed and we go back to the screen. So now we need to save our file. So click File, Save As. I like to hit Browse because I feel like it gives me more options as to the file type that I save it as and where I save it to. So I'm just going to save this to my desktop. And I'm going to call this Excel Session 1. Now I already have a file called Excel session 1 on my desktop, so it's going to ask me if I want to overwrite it. You should not have that additional pop-up that comes, but I will. So I'm going to hit save. Yes, I want to replace it. And we're good. It's saved. And we're all done. So we edited and formatted our spreadsheet. We entered formulas. We looked at display and print options, and we have safely saved our workbook. Any questions?
I don't see any questions in the chat, but if anybody does have a question, feel free at this point, you can unmute yourself and you can just pop in and ask, or you can drop it in the chat either way.
Okay, so next week.
Oh,
go ahead.
Sorry, I have a question. This is Holly. Some of the things that you're saying, like when you went to the home and the print screen, are different than what I'm seeing on my screen. Is it differences between using Excel for Mac as opposed to if you're on if you're not on an Apple?
It could be, yes.
Okay.
Excel for Mac is going to look just a little bit different. You can use the web-based Excel. That'll be a little bit closer. The options should be there. They may just look a little bit different.
Okay.
And I know Becca uses a Mac at home. So Becca, you might have a little bit of insight on this, like the differences in how it looks on a PC versus a Mac.
I do have a Mac at home. However, I do not use Excel on my Mac at home, so I'm not sure. Mac uses numbers, which is very different. It's a similar concept to Excel, but it's set up completely different. I haven't tried using Excel on mine, but Holly, we could definitely figure it out if you wanted to stop in at some point, or we can get together later as well.
Okay, anyone else? Okay, so let's talk about next week, session 2. So we will build on this same spreadsheet, so don't lose it. We're going to add some more formulas. We're going to change data types. We're going to put data together in one cell, and then we're going to tell data that we want it to live in separate cells, not together anymore. We're going to learn some shortcuts, shortcut keys, and different ways to make you faster whenever you're actually building your data. And then for the third section, we're going to pivot and we're going to talk about tables and charts and adding some color to your data. We'll also talk about file types and what to do with that file that you may have just exported from your accounting software and have no idea what to do with it. So I hope everybody will join us. If anyone has questions in the meantime, let us know. Otherwise, that's all I got.